You've reached the Peak Perspectives, with your hosts, AP and VC. Get to know Denver and the surrounding area through the people who make it special. We sit down for engaging interviews and discussions with individuals who have unique connections to the Mile High City and beyond. Welcome to Peak Perspectives of Colorado. This is where we uncover the heart of Denver, and we do it one story at a time, of course. Hi, I'm your co-host, VC. Today's episode, we have a conversation with a good friend of ours, Miss Deborah Walker. Now here's your host, AP.
All right, thanks, Vix. Good to see you again. Deborah, welcome. Appreciate your time. Now, as I was mentioning before, what we like to do is let people get to know you on a little bit more intimate level. People, I'm sure, have heard about you. They're familiar with the name, but they may not know the real story, the backstory, and that's what we like to do here. So if you could go ahead and give us a little start from the beginning, like where you grew up, elementary school, and just take it up to how you got to where you are now.
Okay. Well, thank you. First, I'd like to say thank you for allowing me to join you today. This is really truly a privilege and an honor, especially with my brother Victor, who we have a long history of life together. But my growing up and coming up has been here in Denver. I went to Columbine, Stedman, Smiley, graduated from East High School, and me and Victor had he was such a wonderful escort for me during one of my.
You didn't tell that story.
We don't need to know everything.
But then during that time, though, I had a singing group that I was with, Denise Jackson and Karen. We did Temptation and Supremes with Philip and Julius Carey and Winston Ford, and a lot of us, we used to all sing around in the neighborhood. And afterwards, we left, moved, myself and Karen, we moved to Chicago. And that's where I had a music scholarship to Sherwood Music School. And then I went to Chicago Conservatory for music. And I worked in advertising. And that took me kind of to California. That's really where in Chicago, where I really was introduced to radio. I was at WDHF radio. I really started finding my place, like who I was, what I needed to be. What was it? Singing? Was it, producing? What was it? After leaving Chicago, I went to California. At California, I went to KBC, KLOS radio. I also worked in advertising as well. I got my first contract with 20th Century Fox, and they really supported me in going to film school at UCLA, which really helped me a lot in really placing like where I was in this whole scheme of the entertainment industry. Because with film and radio, and there's a lot of little things that connect us. And,
Yes.
We just need to find our place. And I think that God kind of led me to experience all of these different areas in advertising, promotions, producing videos, radio, all of it, because where it led me after my 5-year stint with UCLA and with 20th Century Fox. That got me my degree, and it led me to where I really wanted to be, which was in the record companies. And that's
what was your degree in, Deborah, that you received?
Broadcasting? It was actually in marketing communications is what I finally got my degree. It was marketing, and then of course I had broadcasting was my under, my secondary, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really amazing that I went full circle, and after coming out of 20th Century Fox, I met a gentleman, Dr. Al Bell, who built Stax Records, and he was at Motown at that time. And so he asked me to come on. He was starting a new company, and I started there at Motown, and I really got to, Berry Gordy, his daughters, and all his family. I really got a chance to see the whole makings of how the record company and the music industry functioned. And then we launched Bellmark Life Records. And in that, it was just one woman and 6 men, which, that's a nice little flavor. But
like those odds.
I like those odds. But we were really a family. And that's what brought us to doing projects like Whoomp, There It Is. We had one label that was urban, and then the other one was gospel. So in between both of those, I was able to really see, because we did Rance, the most beautiful girl in the world, the symbol. And I really saw where Al Bell showed me how, he was just a marketing genius. He could take, something that is just so minute, like a Prince who was having problems with his record label, and say, hey, let's take this one song, and with all these different artists, make an album out of it, change your name to the symbol, and just create a phenomenal opportunity for Prince and for us. And then on the gospel side, he was able to take someone like Rance Allen, Lamore Park, he was able to take those types of artists and really upscale them, because with gospel, it just seems like there was a shadow of them over them. It wasn't really acceptable in one sense. James Cleveland, that was, a quote unquote, a lot of symbolisms as gays and whatever. But those people were very, very, very talented. And we were able to join with a gentleman called James Bullard, who was one of the leaders of gospel. And he really, really kept encouraging me to stay with gospel, really, really focus on gospel, because urban is always going to be there. Your foundation is gospel. And it was hard for me to see in one sense, but I was able to use those skills that someone like Al Bell and the radio and being around Berry Gordy and a lot of the other industry people, I was able to use those skills to really develop the gospel, because that's where my heart is. And that's I think, when I found that. And when I left Bellmark, then that's when James Bullard just pulled me, and I got a chance to really work with artists such as Lee Williams and the Spiritual Q.C, and Caesars, and a lot of the top gospel artists, and change that image to really enhance where that gospel industry was heading.
Yeah, you said, if I may, go ahead.
I was going to say, it seems like at just before this, gospel was pretty much regulated to the church. And it was like it wasn't acceptable too much to get out into the world with it, in terms of videos and award shows and so forth. So if I'm understanding you correctly, it was about this time that you were able to use some of your skills to kind of change that perception and make it more, I don't use the word commercial, but to make it more urban, more acceptable to the masses. Would that be correct?
Yes, exactly. Because with the two, Al Bell, who wrote the song from the Staple Singers, that song was re-recorded.
I'll Take You There.
I'll Take You There with BB and CC. So that kind of married the industry in the sense of heightening the gospel industry and making it more acceptable. Because the Staple Singers were, they were popular in their own right. But when you have a group such as BB and CC that's with Capitol Records, and they put the money behind it, and they take a song that someone like Al Bell wrote, and Capitol Records was SEMA was our distribution, so there was a marriage right there. And when you put that together, then for some reason, people just say, yeah, well, we can do this. Yeah, all you got to do is just, you ain't got to put Jesus in it, just, but,
It's the music.
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
but that wasn't really what it was. It was really about more, not making it commercial, but making it more acceptable and appealing.
There seemed to have been a stigmatism with churches who philosophy was that musically, as far as instruments, a piano or
Right.
a drum, or a piano and cymbals.
Right.
And if you added any more to that, or lead guitar, and if you added any more instruments to that element, it wasn't gospel. It wasn't of an inspirational feeling. And then as you were talking, it's saying, when CC and BB came around, and the Winans and all that, Andre Crouch, you had that instrumentation of horns and organs and all that just changed the whole outlook.
Yes. Well, it just made it more appealing and more acceptable outside of the church. Those that didn't go to church,
right,
able to really accept it, because it was appealing. Even though you didn't, get away from the church. I mean, there was still the James Cleveland, the Gospel Music of America, GMA, GMWA. We did those choirs, and I mean, it just really kind of exploded,
yeah,
in its own right, because, when you talk about Walter Hawkins, and when you talk about other, when he did "Oh Happy Day," I mean, come on,
it.
that was, come on,
that crossed both boundaries, didn't it?
It did, And that's what we're talking about, crossing over. And that's what everybody start talking about, crossing over. So that was really kind of the height of my career, made a lot of money. I did a lot of things. I traveled a lot with both urban and with gospel. But the things that I experienced, like with the Prince and with those type of artists, I was able, because I'm telling you, that Whoomp, there it is. That was something that was very, very difficult to do, because we just took a household, we took a name of a song and made it a household name.
Mm-hmm.
And that I can only accredit the genius of someone like Dr. Al Bell, because he gave me a plan, a marketing plan. And I had my son and some of his friends, we'd give them some pizza, and bring him into the office and say, hey, call all these radio stations and request the song. And they were calling, requesting the song, saying, hey, man, who that is? Come on, make me of this. And that's what we needed, was the young people to really get a hold of it, and really make it happen. And that one song took us to Arsenio Hall. It took them to, Adam's Family. We even did Mickey. And when you get to Mickey, Whoop, that is, Oh, woo, woo, woo. He had the little hat on, But I had a girl by the name of Carolyn Wiggins, who worked at Capitol Records. We were at Capitol. And I said, look, I got to bring these two artists together with Mickey. How are we going to do that? Because Mickey there's a lot of red tape. You just can't use Mickey,
Right.
really get that permission and stuff. And she came up with a design where they were like hip hop. And that's when we were able to bridge that hip hop industry into something like, make it clean, because,
Right.
When hip hop came in, it really wasn't, it was kind of, something else.
Rated R.
Okay, yeah, okay. So, but then what happened was my father got sick, and I really had to make a decision about what I was going to do. And I really prayed that night, because I didn't want to let go of my career, but this was family. And I prayed that night. But when I got up that morning, God said, look, it was in my spirit, if you just pack up and go home and give to your parents what they have given to you, then I will take you further than you have ever seen. And that next day, I got up and moved back to Denver. And I got to Denver, and it was like, okay, Lord, now what are we going to do now? There was a break. Oh, well, okay, no, okay, all right. So, and then I really just didn't know. I still had a contract with James Bullard. So that kind of kept me going, because I could go out of town, produce different videos and stuff like that with him down in Memphis, down south. But then I didn't have a connection here. And then I met a gentleman by the name of Leon Owens.
Leon Owens.
The great. I mean, the late great. And I'm going to tell you, great guy.
Yeah.
With KLDC. And his passion was really trying to start a gospel radio station. And he was with Crawford Broadcasting, and they were giving him a hard time. But he heard my voice, and he said, just hang in there with me. And I did. And I was the first announcer there to start his radio. And that just kind of brought tears to him because that got him going. It wasn't a place that I could stay because afterwards, well, I stayed there for about 6-9 months or so. And then, of course, Dr. Daddy-O, mommy. And so I went over to there to
KDKO.
Yeah, KDKO. It was, and I'm telling you, I worked with Brother Jeff, Ricky O, and there were a lot of us. But I'm telling you, working through KDKO was the training ground because we were doing. I'm talking about splicing with the, razor.
Oh yeah.
That was old school. I mean, we had to go back to the beginning. And it was like, well, wait a minute, Now it's like, edit, it's like different things. And I stayed there for a while. And then I started doing my own little things with KRKS and, bridging radio, because one thing that Al Bell was, when I got to KLDC, I said, I don't know what to do. Well, he had been a radio guy, and he told me, he said, look, this is a gospel program. So say this and get this into your spirit, that my name of my program was the Continuous Evangelistic Crusade. And he said, it's a gospel music ministry at the highway and hedges of life, spreading the word of God in song. And he said, if you stay there, he said, that's going to be a God-given mission for you. And I think I just used that just through this whole career. And then what happens? What comes around? Victor. And then Victor is the one that really encouraged me and influenced me to come to KUBO. I had met Flo, I guess maybe about 3 or 4 years. I know I was at KDKO, and I said, man, this is really a great little family, studio and stuff. But they had a Greg Rashid, I think, was there.
Greg Rashid, yes.
Yeah, he was there. And so I said to myself, one day I am going to work at this station, And it was really Victor, and I have to give you all the accolades. I mean, you did a fabulous job there. And I just really, really appreciate you. I mean, you are the man to me. No matter what my father did, before, okay, this.
Oh my God.
We're not going to go into history, but I do.
Oh no, I want to hear a little bit more about this. We like the stories.
Well, I think that maybe we'll have to talk about that over coffee. We do not want to talk about that
off the record.
I know, but I do want to tell you, Victor, I am here right now, really, because of you. I had the opportunity.
Much love.
Yeah, to develop the gospel train with Deborah Walker. I mean, I have gotten that to the point where I own it. I have trade name. I have the whole 9 yards, and I would not be here if it had not been for you. And I just want you to know how much I truly, truly love you, and how much it has really, really been a blessing, because now I'm facing. So even though I've been in the industry for 30 years, I'm celebrating the 20 years of the gospel train with Deborah Walker, and my 20 years of being in radio. And that is really because of you. I would not be celebrating that if it had not been for me stepping into KUBO.
Well, I think it was because of what you said earlier when your father was sick and you had to make that decision of what you were going to do. And
Right.
you were told, you chose to listen to the Spirit.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of times when we listen, we don't know really how it's going to be, but we listen and we take action.
Yeah.
And had you not taken that action, some of these things may not have ever came to fruition.
That's true.
So it was my pleasure, and you've done such a fantastic job, if I can say so, since we're handing out accolades. You've taken the gospel train and you really set it on the track. You've kept it on the track. And just real briefly, tell people about what the gospel train, in case they've never heard of your show, since we're at this spot in our conversation. Tell them what the gospel train is. And also, you've got a special event, but lay out the groundwork of the gospel train that you host on Sundays.
Well, the gospel train is not a religious program. It's really about a relationship. And it's my heart to your heart, to be able to provide great gospel music to those that are in my listening audience that will really inspire them to share love. Like I said earlier, I can use the gospel train as, it's a music ministry, at the highway and hedges of life that will really inspire people, that it will go around the world, and touch the heart, because peace and love is what we need. And we always need to share that, no matter what your voice is. We all have a voice.
Yes.
And we all need to express that voice. And my voice just happens to be on radio. It just comes through on radio at KUBO. And I really would like to go to other stations and syndicate and do other things. But I know that God will open that door in His time for me to do that. Because, I have friends from Kenya, and, I have a lot of people that I'm surprised in Atlanta, and, because they can go online and listen, that really say, hey, can you play this? Can you play Amen? Can you play Curtis Mayfield?
Yeah.
Those kind of things, because those were heartfelt music that they grew up with. And I don't care who you are or where you've been, what you have done. When the Spirit of the Lord hits you, it will change your life.
Amen. Let's mention also that it is a listener-supported.
Yes,
program,
it is. It's listener supported. We don't have to really worry about government or anything like that. Now that the government ain't really in there no more, you know what I mean? So it's about the community. It's about the culture. And we all, I don't care who you are, white, black, blue, green, whatever, at some point in your life, you identify with God at some point, And I mean, I've talked to people that are like totally heathen, but I know that I can play a song for them. They say, yeah, that's kind of happening,
Right.
So now, Vic had mentioned a special project coming up. But before we get to that, can you tell me a little bit about your work with Denver Public Schools?
Okay, so when 9/11 hit, I had my own business. And I was, that's when I was kind of traveling, and I was doing Michael and Regina Winans. I had quite a few. I got about 7 projects that I was working on. And when 9/11 hit, bam, it just all went away because everything stopped.
Right.
Okay. Thank God that I had, some education. And I said, well, what am I going to do? And my sister-in-law is the one who was a principal. And she said, well, why don't you just go around to one of these schools or something and, see if you could, teach, because I had a master's degree at that time. And so I was living in Montbello. So I went around to John and Mass Elementary School, which was kind of down the street from me. And it was Dr. Wanda Lennox, who I interviewed with. She was a principal at that time. And we just sat and talked. I hadn't done anything. I hadn't filled out an application. I just went in there and said, hey, look, I need a job. I don't know nothing about it. I like kids, but, can you help me out here? And she was just really down. And I'm telling you, for some reason, it touched that lady's heart. She hired me, and then I went and put through all my applications, that I needed to do for Denver Public Schools. She put me in kindergarten with a young lady that was kind of an experienced teacher. And that lady just walked me through and just showed me everything. And that right there really gave me the passion, because I love kids now. And I've been there. I've worked through Denver Public Schools for 18 years. And then I retired. And not only did I do that, I also supported the after school program, because it was a literacy program. And I wanted to teach kids how to read. I just found that there were so many of them that didn't know how to read. And I used my music to teach them certain things in math and in English. You see what I mean? Because math and music are really join together. I mean, they're the same language, and kids will really go. Now, I can only do elementary. I can't do anything. Over 5th grade, I cannot handle. Okay. It's a little much for me. But elementary, I did. And I went from kindergarten all the way to 5th grade. And to this day, even though I retired during the pandemic, is when I retired, because it just got too much. The kids were just off the hook. You could tell something was, stirring up. I didn't know what it was, but when that pandemic hit, before the pandemic hit, I just said, I kept asking people, how do you know when it's time for you to retire? And they said, well, you're going to know. You're really going to know. That's not giving me an answer. But I went to Para, and I just went in and I talked to them, and they said, well, it takes so long. Why don't you just go in and put your application in? And whenever you get ready to retire, we'll just go in and put it through. Right. And I mean, it wasn't but 2-3 months later, that pandemic hit. Hallelujah. Woo! Yeah. Yeah. I got to sit back for a couple of months. I said, yeah, Lord. And I said, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. He knew exactly how to guide me and protect me. And I started back after school program maybe about a year or 2 ago, trying to help them. So I worked a couple of hours after school with the Scholars Unlimited program, which is a literacy program.
Good.
Okay, so now in addition to your work with and support of the Colorado Black Arts Festival, Juneteenth, et cetera, et cetera. What's this new project you've got coming up?
Well, this right here is it's like God kind of placed this on my heart because because with KUVO, they are celebrating 40 years. Last year, I kept saying, I want to do a gospel brunch, in connection with this. So I could never get it hooked up, with them, and they were like, okay. They had all this going on and all this going on. So I guess about July or April, April, May, June, maybe June or July, I said, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to celebrate 20 years of being solid. Those are my solid years of being in radio. And, this is not for me. This is going to be for those in my community. This is going to be for people like Winifred Harris, Sylvia Cordy, people that Lynn Jackson that has the elite drill team, Randy McCowan, Body of Christ, who retired after 35 years.
Randy retired.
He retired. And no one ever celebrated these people. And someone like John McCallum, who was a very, very talented young man in theater. And his sister Cheryl is you could see the spirit of him in her and her talent, and Carol McCallum. And that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to celebrate them. I wanted to have an event, heart to heart, with just me and the community, and to really thank them for all the support and love that they have given to me, because I would not be here if it had not been for like you, other people like that have really supported this program. Because I even can say with KUVO, the challenges we had with gospel.
Yeah.
Even being in, with radio, radio has lost its power, WBLS in New York. I mean, if you go to New York, someone asked me, this lady said, well, I go to New York all the time. Can you tell me where's the gospel radio station like yours? Well, there's really not one. There's an AM station, but it used to, people used to have day parts, and, gospel industry used to be at least, more prominent than it is now. It's not anymore. Yeah. So it's like, God, what's going on? I mean, what are they trying to do to your music? Well, you have to be in this world and not of it, because that's what we have to stand for. And that's what I'm standing to do.
Yeah.
So I just thought we'd just have a little celebration November 1st. And I'm having it at Windsor Gardens, where there's a lot of little old people that we can all join together.
Yeah.
We can all join together and have a very, very good time. One of my road dogs and a very, very good friend of mine that goes to my church, Miss Lorraine Hobbs. She's 101 years old. She lives there, and she was the one that was really encouraging. She said, yeah, well, why don't you just have it here? And we could have a good old time, So I said, okay. And they have a beautiful auditorium that they opened up and shared with us. Yeah. And
well, you be sure and send me all that information on that as well, because it sounds like
I think I sent you the flyer.
Yeah. If not, get it to me.
That's right. I will.
Right.
Well, I have truly, truly enjoyed talking to God. And Victor, you and your wife need to be there, because you have the engineer hat that Brother Joe Dunn gave to us. Okay, I have the conductor's hat, but Victor, you the man. You're the engineer.
You're the engineer now. All those reins were turned over to you. Yeah, I'm keeping the hat, but you got the train, the caboose, and all that other stuff.
All right. Well, Deborah, we want to thank you again. I mean, it's been fun.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, it has. Thank you so
And I
much.
know you're busy. And it's funny, I was looking at your bio, and the last sentence kind of said it all to me. If Deborah Walker is handling it, it's a done deal.
You know that's right. That's good.
Okay. Amen to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, hey, again, thanks for joining us right here on Peak Perspectives of Colorado, where, again, we uncover the heart of Denver, and we do it one story at a time. Today, you heard the story and the passion that comes from Miss Deborah Walker. If you'd like additional information, you can check out our email. It's peakperspectives with an s.co@gmail.com. Miss Deborah Walker, again, your event is November 1st. And what time is it?
It's 10 to 2.
10 to 2. A gospel train brunch. Is that what it's called?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
It is.
Yeah. We love you.
Try to make.
I love you. Yeah. God bless you guys. Thank you so much.
Take care now.
All right. Bye-bye.